Hey, how's it going? Welcome back. If you've seen my other videos, little bit of a break in between. Had a birthday, had death in the family, so a lot going on. But today we're gonna talk about testing God's patience. That's what today's topic is. All right, and the piece that it starts off with is Gideon said to God, "Do not let your anger burn against me, but let me speak one more time. Let me, please, make trial with the fleece just once more. Let it be dry only on the fleece, and all on the ground, on all the ground, let there be dew." And God did so that night. It was dry on the fleece only, and all on the ground there was dew. Judges 6:39-40. All right, so today's talking point. Today's understatement. God is very patient. An angel appeared to Gideon and said that God was with him. Gideon's response was that if the Lord was with him, then why did it appear that God had forsaken Israel? Undaunted, the angel stated that God had chosen Gideon to save Israel from its enemy, Midian. Gideon replied that his clan was the weakest and that he was the least in his clan. The angel told him that God would help him. "Show me a sign," replied Gideon. So the angel gave him a sign. Gideon realized that he was speaking with an angel of God. God gave Gideon a task: tear down an altar to Baal and replace it with an altar to God. Gideon did it at night to avoid being seen. The men of the town figured out anyway that he was the culprit. Gideon's father deftly prevented them from killing Gideon, but the avoided skirmish mushroomed into a looming war. The Midianites and their allies amassed across the Jordan River, ready for battle against the people of Israel and their fearless leader Gideon. Except Gideon was not so fearless. He told God he needed another sign. "I am laying a fleece of wool on the threshing floor. If there is dew on the fleece alone, and it is dry on all the ground, then I shall know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said." He got the sign, and so he asked for another. This time the fleece must be dry and the floor wet. God gave him that sign too, and Gideon led Israel to victory. God is patient with all his children. He is extraordinarily patient. So we're gonna go back through Judges 6 a little bit here for the passage. The angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, "The Lord is with you, you mighty warrior." Gideon answered, "But sir, if the Lord is with us, why then has this happened to us? And where are his wonderful deeds that our ancestors recounted to us, saying, 'Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has cast us off and given us to the hand of Midian.'" Then the Lord turned to him and said, "Go in this might of yours and deliver Israel from the hand of Midian. I hereby commission you." He responded, "But sir, how do I deliver Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." Then Gideon said to God, "In order to see whether you will deliver Israel by my hand, as you have said, I'm going to lay a fleece of wool on the threshing floor. If there is dew on the fleece alone and dry on the ground, then I shall know that you will deliver Israel by my hand, as you have said." And it was so. When he arose early the next morning and squeezed the fleece, he wrung enough dew from the fleece to fill a bowl with water. Then Gideon said to God, "Do not let your anger burn against me. Let me speak one more time. Let me, please, make trial with the fleece just once more. Let it be dry on the fleece, and on all the ground let there be dew." And God did so that night. It was dry on the fleece only, and on all the ground there was dew. Which is actually pretty awesome. Questions for reflection and application. Why did the angel call Gideon a mighty man of valor? So, in reference to all of this, he knew and understood what God's promises were for the people of Israel, and he was willing to lay himself out for God's calling for him because of the trial that he gave through to God, or the signs that he asked from God being completed, I guess. I mean, when you look at it, obviously he was skeptical at first, especially considering the fact that he felt that the Lord had abandoned them because of the promises that had been made for Egypt off of what they had been promised when they were led out of Egypt. But when you're kind of tasked with, taking down an altar and replenishing it with one to God, and then, he gets you through that, and then on top of that gets you through them trying to kill you. And then, even after that, you have, you ask for 2 more signs, and both signs. I mean, that's pretty darning evidence of, you have a fleece and there's only water on the fleece and then no water on the ground, and then vice versa literally the next day. I think that's why they called him a man of valor, was because he was a man of his word. He was somebody that, was going to uphold his word and become mighty. Why did Gideon ask for a second sign? Why did God oblige? Honestly, I think it was exactly that runs in through the first one. I think the reason he asked for the second sign was because he was, I don't want to say skeptical, but he was nervous. He was worried. He knew that, there were pieces that he felt that had been promises that had been made prior that weren't being upheld, and he wanted to make sure that this was going to be the case going forward. And he's like, hey, okay, cool, do this, give me a sign. Once could be a coincidence, let's go ahead and make sure I have a second sign. He was probably nervous too. Again, he said that, he was the weakest family, and then the weakest member of his family, and yet he's supposed to lead victory in this great war. He wants to be 100% positive, so he was nervous. I mean, that definitely goes without saying, but I think God obliged to calm him. God is absolutely patient. I mean, even outside of this, which shows that he was patient in somebody who was already a God-fearing person. Think about how patient God is when you're not a God-fearing person. God is always there waiting for you. So for him to be patient, waiting for you to utilize free will to accept him and grow your relationship with him, that's pretty darn patient. I don't like waiting 2 days for something to come in the mail. I am certainly not waiting a lifetime for somebody to come to know me and care about me. Like, that's massive. So I think, God obliging is simply God saying, hey, I want to quell your fears. I want you to understand that this is absolute. That is what I'm saying. That is what's going to happen. If that's what you need to be confident, then that's what I'm going to do for you. What is God calling you to do that takes you outside of your comfort zone? How have you responded to this call? I think we went over this in one of the other videos, something to the same vein. This right here. I mean, there are a number of things that I am doing to get outside of my comfort zone. Fellowship, partnering with people for help, kind of giving up reins of my own company, and delving into nonprofit territory, things like, there are just a lot of things that are getting way outside of my purview, of things that I know, things that I'm comfortable with, but things I feel that I've been called to kind of go into that direction. But this is a massive one. I mean, I'm literally putting this out there for absolutely everybody to be able to see. It's been a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. It's a lot easier to spend the self-reflection time, do my devotional and just kind of have it for myself. Even though it takes longer, because I typically dwell more. I have prayer within that time frame, things like that. It seems to be easier than it is to say, okay, well, I'm going to, go through, pop on the video, make sure I'm recording it. Now, I wanted to do these unedited because, again, I want this to be as real as if you were sitting down and we were having a cup of coffee and we were talking. But definitely outside of my comfort zone. I mean, there are a lot of people that I know that would probably just be like, well, if that's really how you feel, or those are kind of some of the things that are on your mind, maybe I just won't hang out with you as much anymore or anything like that. I don't hide the fact that I'm a Christian. I don't, shy away from a conversation about God with any stretch of the imagination. And I typically am very, very tactful in how I go about it so that I can make sure that people have as open a mind as I possibly can get them to have before we go into any conversation, and make sure that they understand that I'm not going to love them, I'm not going to love them less if they decide to utilize their free will to not follow Christ. It may impact certain things that we do together. I'm definitely not going to, there are some things that I've changed about my life that, so activities that I no longer partake in and things like that, but it's not going to cause how I feel about somebody as a person. It's not going to make me not love them. But on that same note, you still want to make sure that if people are going to react in a certain way, especially with social media nowadays, you can post something up. If somebody takes that even out of context, in context, whatever, you have zero opportunity to talk with a lot of those people and say, hey, well, this is kind of why I feel that way, or this is where I'm coming from, before they're just like, nope, I'm out of your life. So it's a daunting task. I have no idea who's going to see this. I have no idea if anybody's ever going to see it. I don't know if anybody's going to care as much as I feel that they might about it. But those are all things that go through your head before you do something like this a lot of times. And it can be daunting. Do you feel that God is patient with you? And why do you feel that way? I'm actually going to put the next two questions in together. Do you feel that God is patient with you? Why do you feel that way? And do you test God's patience, and how? Those go hand in hand. Absolutely. God is... I'm sure there are people that he is more patient with than myself. But when you're going through discovery phase on a lot of this stuff, or even, and I'm sure that it's probably even if you've been doing it your entire life. I'm no stranger to Jesus or Christianity. I grew up in a Christian household. It's just whether or not you stayed consistent with that versus, the latter of going out and kind of doing your own thing and coming back. But you feel like every little mistake that you do is testing God's patience and testing whether or not you're a good Christian and God is going to care about you later on after it. And that's not the case. God has infinite patience. And he knows that you're going to screw things up. You're going to miss days in the devotional. You're going to miss church sometimes. You're going to ask why. You're going to say, hey, I need another sign. You're going to say, hey, this isn't quite clear. I'm not comfortable with that, until you are beaten over the head with it enough times where it's blatantly clear and you're like, oh, well, that's why. And you feel that way because you don't know him as well as you should. And when you do know him as well as you should, you understand that he knows that that's going to happen. He knows that that's going to be there. He's sitting right there just waiting. And, he gives you different ways of understanding that, hey, I understand that you screwed this up. Hey, I thought she was absolutely gorgeous. may have had some bad thoughts. Not supposed to really do that. Like, that's just not, like, you not supposed to objectify. Like, that's lust is a big thing. And he's like, yeah, I knew you were gonna do that. Like, you did it. Are you sorry you did it? Yes, I'm sorry I did it. I'm gonna try it. Try not to do it again. Okay, let's move on from there. What's the next thing on the agenda? Compare that to the fact that he legitimately has people that he's waiting 80, 90, 100 years for them to say, I want you in my life, Lord. And so the patience for him being able to put up with you doing something stupid. Oh my God, you know what? I decided to go out, have a couple drinks last night, got drunk. That was a bad idea. Did you hurt anybody? No. Did you do anything stupid? No, but I know I'm also not supposed to sit here and go out and get drunk. Cool. Move on. Like, what's the next thing on the agenda? Obviously, he doesn't like sin, and he doesn't want you to continually do things like that, but the patience is absolutely there. He will sit there while you're doing it and just be like, I knew he was going to do this. Let's make sure he's going to be apologetic for it. Let's hope that he never does it again, but there's always going to be something. We're not perfect. There's always going to be a sin. And that's why I wanted to answer both of those questions together, is because that's exactly, how those are examples of how I have tested his patience. Lust is something that is a big issue for me. Unfortunately, women are beautiful. Like, that's just how it happens, and that sometimes that's where it goes in my head. It's like, hey, okay, I'm thinking about the wrong things, or my birthday was a couple days ago, and unfortunately, I lost my grandmother on my birthday, and she was a big, big, big piece of my life. Not just a big piece of my life, but she was the person who always kept us centered as far as religion goes. Grew up on my mom's side of the family, big time Italian, very Catholic. She left the Catholic Church early on, introduced my mother to Jesus, and my mom and I have not had the best relationship forever. Like, that's just how things go. Sometimes we have a phenomenal relationship now, but my mom is the driving force behind why I am so focused on my faith. And her faith was reinforced by her mom, and my grandmother, her mom, always reinforced it with me. Just kind of the way she was on everything. She had this absolutely innocent outlook to a lot of things, where it was, I'm not sure why. I know they don't want to do this. Why do they do that? And it's like, man, that's just how the world works. Like, that's how some people are. Wow, I'm sad. Keep praying for them. Keep praying for them. And it's like, that was surreal. It was unlike anything else in my life. So, big hurt there. I hadn't, not an alcoholic or anything like that, but I had, because I've been eating better, I've been trying to do better for myself, exercise more, things like that. I had actually cut out drinking just because it was like, well, I go out and have drinks. It really doesn't make any sense for me to do that, because then I'll end up eating junk food, and I'm like, I can just do without the drinking. Every once in a while I'll have a glass of scotch, that's fine. But I 2 nights in a row out at the bar having drinks. Just, I didn't want to be home. I didn't want to sit alone with my thoughts. I didn't do my devotional for 2 days, 3 days actually. And I know that it's those things like that I know I feel like I'm testing God's patience with. And as we're going through this, no, I do not feel this is some sort of mea culpa for what I've done. That's not why I do this. The reason I do this is because for me it's important that if anybody ever does see this, that they understand where I'm coming from. Maybe it's something that can help a little bit more on just kind of a personal level, or you're not looking at somebody that's the most polished, theologist of all time that's speaking about all of these different absolutely crazy things, but you're just like, wow, that's great, but that probably took you forever to understand, and how do I even get to those you get to see kind of a piece of where you can be in the beginning or in the middle, not towards a further along journey. Like I did this so that if I can help one person, I'm happy. If I help no people, it's helping me. So there is a little bit of a selfish reason there too. This helps me sit here and be able to come closer to God, sit in His Word, be able to hash it out. There's a lot of things that I hash out in these videos that are things that I may have thought of in my head, but by sitting here talking to myself about it, sometimes I realize other things. So those are ways that I feel like I'm testing God's patience. But I kind of feel that's a loaded question too, because this is one of those pieces of devotional where I don't always feel like I'm testing God's patience. In the beginning, I definitely did every single time, and I know that I disappoint God when it comes to sinning. I can't do anything. Like, that's a battle you will never win alone. The sin, we are programmed to sin. Like, that's part and parcel of being a human. And once you get past that and understand that He's going to sit there while that happens, and He's always going to be there afterwards, you feel less and less that you've tested His patience, and more, almost kind of like, like when your parents are like, I'm not mad at you, I'm disappointed. So it's less that your parents you're testing their patience and they're angry about that. It's more of, hey, this is something you've been struggling with. You still haven't given it to me fully, and I'm just disappointed that you didn't give it to me fully, so I can take that from you, so that I can alleviate that pain from you, as opposed to the disappointment. Or as opposed to him being impatient with the fact that you're not perfect. You're never going to be perfect. He'd be impatient for absolutely ever. He'd have to be impatient forever. So, and again, that right there, kind of a realization. It's something that I link in my head, but verbalizing it and kind of placing everything into that wonderful little mold there, it helps me stay in my journey, because there are a lot of people that they kind of get to a place where they're just like, no, I can't come back from this. I can't come back from that. There's just no way. And that's not true. It's absolutely not true. There's always a way. So if you see this, I love you. I appreciate you. Again, the book is Daily Strength for Men, Barnes & Noble. You can pick it up. I think it's like $20. Nothing crazy. It's even cheaper if you have the little coupons, and I get $10 off, so that was nice. But leave a comment, DM me, whatever. If anybody sees this, they need to talk, they want to have a conversation about something, there's a question about something. I'm not saying I know everything about everything. Far from it. I will find somebody if it's something that I'm not sure of. I will have any conversation that you would like to have. That doesn't mean that I'm going to have all the answers. But I welcome all conversations, because that's kind of how you grow. You have to be able to talk to each other. But do know you are loved, not just by God. I love you. Happy to be here for you.